So this is the file that I make so everyone can learn, and then so I can present what I do mostly using Figma. So if you go to the top into the namings of it, Padma, have you put the links to the chat as well? Yeah, so you can duplicate this file, so anyone can have this file as an exercise. So on the top in the middle, there is a name of the file. If there's like a mini saffron, you can click that, and then this. All right, and then you can just duplicate that. With this way, you can duplicate my file, and it will have everything that I have right now into your Figma as well. So yeah, I suggest anyone that want to like following my tutorial right now, duplicate my file. Click the name over here and then duplicates. Yep, you can click on the link in the chat and then go ahead to just duplicate that. Okay, so if anyone already duplicate that, hopefully, yeah, thank you, Matthias. Thank you. Okay, then now I can start. So Figma is one of the design tools that most people right now are using because it has a lot of benefits compared to the other tools. So Figma basically can do anything from start to like having like sticky notes. They also can make wireframes, user flow, and of course the biggest thing they have and you can do is making the visual design, which is the high fidelity, and making design system. So one of some of the feature that I really like about Figma is, as you can see in here, you can have a lot of people, and then you can collaborate in real times online. And first, it's easy because I don't have to save my file. That's really important for me in case that you don't want to like have too many files. And you can see that after you share the link to anyone, you can see that so many people can access the same file. If you want to like give it to your client or your friends so they can view, you can just make them view. And then if you want them to like, oh, I want to collaborate, you can make them to edit. So now everyone have access to edit my file in the real time. And you can remove them as well if you want it, if there's any unwanted visitors on your file. And then if you want to share, you can just copy a link, and then you can share the link to anyone's. And then they can click the link and then they can get the file. So that's one thing. And then one feature that kind of interesting for me lately in Figma is call feature. So sometimes when I work previously, we don't really talk to each other when you collaborate. Now you can talk to each other. So presenting a design is easier that way. So you don't have to like using like Zoom or using the Microsoft Team, and you can just like call anyone that's online right now, and then everyone can like listen to you, they can interact with you. So it's very intuitive in a way that to the design. So it's kind of fun. And then over here is the typography system. We're not gonna make this, but this is like one thing that I really like about Figma is to be able to make design system. So type scale is like one of the things that you have to have in the design systems. So you can make a bunch of style based on what do you need, display, you want heading, and then you can make exactly everything, and then you can put into the type scale system and you can reuse that for the other file, and then you can use it together with your teams. And then it can be super complex, especially if you are designing mobiles. So this is why you see that there's a heading 1 and there's heading 1 small. This is to accommodate if you need the same heading 1 for mobile. So that's the neat things about Figma. I'm sure you guys are a bit familiar with the rest of it. You see the layer. This is mostly like the same like Adobe XD, just like switch to the left rather than the right. A lot of pages, I use a lot of pages usually to differentiate a result or user flow. Like maybe this is going to be wireframe, this can be like high fidelity, and then so on. Especially if I have a lot of flow and then I want it to be organized. So when product owner or developer come into your Figma file, they're not gonna feel like, oh, where is my file? Where is the file? So that's basically it for Figma. Those are like neat little things that I like about Figma. And then bunch of plugins that you can do with Figma. As you can see that I have a lot of plugins. You can find this in communities, and then all of them are free. So I really recommend you to have a lot of plugins to have. Okay, that's the intro for the Figma itself. We're gonna make this simple landing page for today. And we're gonna make it responsive. So we can make it for iPad. And then, of course, we're gonna make it for mobile. So I'm gonna show you how step by step I usually do when I design in Figma. So first, I'm gonna start with my grid. It's really important to choose to have a grid first. As you can see, in your file, in here, I already have a grid style, but I'm gonna also tell you guys like how do I make this grid here. So if you turn this on, you can see that I will choose 12 column for my desktop grid. How to make it? We'll make it together after this, and also make rows of 8-point pixel height in case that if I need to design everything pixel perfect in terms of like vertically, this is also helpful. So yes, on that, let's just make it on the style. Let's get rid of this grid for now. There we go. Okay. So now let's make the grid for the desktops. First, you click the layout grid, and then you make sure to choose column first. The reason why we want to have a grid, so all our structure of elements in our design can be like organized, and that's also really helpful for the developer in the later day if they want to like develop your design. So usually for desktop, the common ones, we need 12 columns, and you make sure to put it on stretch. And for margins, there's no exact rule for margins. The bigger the margins, that means your website content gonna stay in the middle. It usually, if you want to make blog or some kind of a portfolio website, you want it to be like have a bigger margins in case so it doesn't really stretch for the end to end. But if you want to make like e-commerce website, you choose like less margins because usually they span over on the screen. So usually for margin for this time, I'm going to use 96. And that's the increment of A to just keep it pixel perfect for gutter, which is this white area between the columns. Just zoom it. I want to make it 24. So now I can make all of my text following this grid. Just example, it's going to be my text, and then this is going to be my picture. So in case if you make something like cart heavy, like e-commerce, like streaming services, this grid really help you to design most of the stuff. So you can have the rows and then you can just like put it down. So it's really great to have that. Oh, and we also need the 8-point pixel rows. So to do that, you can just add this over here and make sure you choose rows. It looks wonky right now, but that's okay. I want to make this to the top. So it starts on the top. And you want to have a lot of grid, a lot of rows in case if you need like a really long devices size. So I'll just try to make like 100,000. And then you want to make no gutter. And then the height, you put 8. In here, you can see now it's like 8 pixel in height. So you can just like click and snap 8 pixel in height. And if you want 16, easy, 16. And then also 16. So this rows helping you. It definitely helps me a lot too when I just want to like drag and shrink any elements. I know that they will at least vertically stick to the grid. So yeah, that's the grid. After I put the grid, of course, we want to choose the colors. We're going to choose the typography that we want to use. So for the sake of this exercise, I already choose the colors. And I usually have like, if it is a basic design, I usually choose the primary colors and also choose neutral colors. And primary, I usually have it like have 5. You can see like main, surface, border, hover, press, and focus. I usually choose those 5 different colors. And then all these colors that we're going to use for this exercise, you can find it. Just click anywhere in the screen and you can see there's a color styles, which is primary. And I also put gradients. And there's like some neutral color that we can choose. Or black and white, some kind of like transition. And then this is the time when you choose typography. So you want to make sure, like I say, you have like enough type scales. If you want to make like a complex app or even a website, I usually put 5 different headings, 1 paragraphs that have different weight. There's like text, and then I want to make it bold. And then for this size, I usually do increment of 8. I can do 16, I can do 24, 32, and then so on, like 40, 48. That's the easiest one to do. But if you think your apps has more, you need more variations, you can also mix and match, like maybe having like 20, and then maybe you can have around like 28, some kind of stuff. But for this exercise, I use like mostly 8-point increment of 8. So you can see in here, I have heading 1, heading 2, heading 4, heading 4, heading 5, and then I have 2 different paragraphs. So in here, I'm going to show you like how I'm going to put the heading 3, because you see there's no heading 3 in here. So we're going to put the heading 3 into the system. So I know the name's going to be heading 3, and I decided I'm going to use Inter. I also decided that I want my heading to be bold, and I want them to be 32. And this is a line height. This is important in case you have like a rows or a paragraphs. But usually headings, they're not gonna be like a paragraphs because it's heading. So it's okay if you want to put 32 as a line height, but I like to keep it a bit more spacing. It's also an increment of 8. So you can put 32. You can see that if I click this, it's kind of like 2 squares, and then you see the containers really close to the G. And then that's why I decided to put 40, which is the increment of 8. There's also another style, that another way of doing this. I usually put like in here to say that let's drag this over here. Let's get rid of this one. Just going to show you guys a bit interesting things that I like from Figma. So this is 16 and this is paragraph. I usually use 150% bigger for line height for paragraph. So this is what I usually do. I do 16 times 150% means 1.5, and Figma will give you the measurement of 24. So now, in case if I have like something underneath, they're not gonna overlap. And then this is also 24, so it will snap into our vertical 8-point pixel grid. So yeah, after we have all the typography in use and everything in here, heading 1, 2, let me put the heading 3 by clicking the style. You can click add buttons on create style and you name it 3. Style. How to check it? Just click anywhere and let's see. There you go, heading 3. If you don't like it in here, just drag them up. There you go. Okay, so now we have all the heading, we have all the colors. Now we can start making things. So first, let's see, let's get rid of this first, so we can easy to see it. So now let's make this one. To be easy, just like click Alt, drag it over here. So you copy them. So you can just see it side by side, easier. You want to get rid of the desktop grid so you can see everything. So first we can put the background. So you drag by clicking Alt, pressing Alt, put it in the back, and patch it. It's gonna snap. There you go. And you don't want this to move. Let's lock it. You right click and then let's lock and lock. Now you're not gonna be able to do anything with your background. So first, let's just do this part over here. Let's just do the content. So we can click T as text, also over here, text. You can put here, and then you either can copy this, the whole thing, then copying in Figma, gonna bring the same style in here. Opens, there you go. It's okay. Things. See, and then we copy this. That, and then let's see the size. It's using paragraph bold and primary color, the main color. So we come here. You can see you can choose regular, you can choose italic, all your styling that you have before, and you also can choose any of the color that you put into the systems. So there you go, you got one. And then you can just copy this down by click. I'm using Windows, so I'm pressing Alt and drag down just to have another text. So I don't have to click text again. And then you want this one over here. So you see the headlines, and then you see that it's heading to, and then it has 2 different colors, which is the gradients and then the neutral 90. So you click on that and copy, Control C, and then you can bring it here. There you go. Okay, now we're styling it. The same thing. We choose the paragraph using heading 2, if I'm not mistaken, and then you can just pull this here so they're not really. And then the colors, let's just color it back first. There you go. And then for a bit of accent, you can just color this by block the color, and then you can choose gradients. There you go. And then same thing. I just like to drag them down, pressing Alt, going down, and then this is just any alt text. I just use a lot of Epson. I copy and paste this. There you go. And it will bring the paragraph regular, and then we're using this color. You also can use maybe the other colors if you like. I'll use this one for now. And now we need to make the buttons. And now you see the thing that I like to use Figma for my buttons. So before that, so I don't lost. So one moment. Oh, okay, I think my desktop 5 is locked. No wonder. Okay. So sorry, I'm supposed to lock the background, not the whole frame. There you go. And these things, since it is outside, it's easier to just copy them, delete, click on the frame, and then you paste again. So now it's inside the desktop 5, if you see. So now we need to make buttons, but first of all, let's just turn the grid on. So to make a button, I like to make it with Autolayout. So first we need text. See, explore our surfaces. So you explore our surface. Okay, so I'm not gonna put it on both. I just put on regular, and then let's just put it for the black color right now. So this is when we can use Autolayout. It's really important that most designers that using Figma using Autolayout, because you want to make sure whenever you make an element that you think you're gonna scale, you want to make it maybe bigger, stretch, or smaller, and you want to make sure that element you can use it again on the later day, on the other project. You want to make sure that you're using Autolayout. And Autolayout also really helpful for developer because they're using the concept of flex box into the positioning of the element. So usually with the old ways I'm making buttons is like this. But since we have Autolayout, I don't do this way most of the time. So instead of having this, bring it to the front, put it on the top, I don't use that anymore. So I just use over here, and then to go to Autolayout, you want to make sure that it's become a frame, and then you put Autolayout. There is a way to do Autolayout really easy. I usually type Shift A on the Windows. The Shift A is become a frame. Can I name it? So these two icons over here, it's been a frame. So how do you know that it's already have a background in the back? I just put a fill into it. Any fill is fine. Look, now it's already have the background without you putting the background behind it. And if you click the frames, you see that Shift A automatically adding Autolayout into your elements. And in here, you see that this is the spacing. And this is like, if you want to like custom spacing for all around it. But I usually use this part over here. This is for alignment and padding. So I know that I want it to be like, just say 24 on the side, and then just for 24. I maybe put 16 on the top. So from our element to the top is going to be 16. It's going to be 16. So by doing that, if you press Alt and hold it, you can see that 16, 24, 24, and 16. And then you can check, oh, the buttons doesn't really like string, doesn't really like go the way I want it. Let's see what's wrong with that. First, I want to make sure that my elements, I want it to be in the middle. So whenever I expand it, it should stay in the middle. So I put my elements in the middle like this. And I just, for the text only, usually if I wanted the text to be in the middle, I also want to change the alignment to be justified in the center. Now they can stretch. And even how large, how long you stretch it, you will see that it's still following that. So we can delete this one and we can put it here. Let's match it to the grid. Let's match these through by like pressing shift, bring them over. Yes. And I want it to be like maybe three columns, and then I want to change the color into May. And of course, the text color, I want to change it to neutral tint. And maybe if you want to like a bit of curve, because this is really like sharp on the edge, you can put here. This is like this corner radius. You can just put 4 or 8. I like to put a bit of 4, so it's not too much. So this is it. That's how you make quick buttons using auto layout. And for auto layout, sometimes it can be very simple, like a buttons. But also, if you see that over here, my example, I'm using auto layout. So this is like another next step of auto layout that you can combine frames inside an auto layout. So let's just try to make it. So first, you know that you want these 4 items into one group, one frame. So how to do it? I like to use my shortcut by pressing this, pressing shift. So I select the whole thing and I click shift A. There you go. It goes into auto layout. And then in here, you can make it 32, and each of these items can have 32 between each others. And this is no stretching. It's the way, like, in case if you want to like make it smaller, make it like shrinking, and then it's really doesn't work. Usually what I do, I'm not touching the outside container. I will check the inside of container first. So I go in, I want to make sure that my container for my text, and here it's fixed. Fixed width means they're not gonna change their sizing. So no matter what you do on the outside, it's not gonna change it. So you want to make this container following the parent's container by choosing fill container. And then let's see, now it's following that. It's pretty nice when it's going to work. And the same thing like this one, you can make it containers. Sometimes it's happened like this, but it's okay. Just extend it again. And same like this, you can just do fill container. I don't do it for my buttons because I would like my button to stay within their size. So I just want the rest of them moving. So next time, if you want to like having like small screens, you can just make it smaller, make it bigger. So yeah, in here you can see there's a fill container, hug, and fix. Hug containers means no matter what you do on the parents, these containers gonna hugging the elements. So it's gonna be something like if you have an element and then you have a container, let's make like a small little container. Let's see. On the side, yeah. Just imagine this is container, the blue container at a time. Just like make it blue. Kind of ugly, but it's okay. So yeah, hugging means like whatever you do, this container is gonna stay within. So in case like if you make it bigger, this will stay with you. While fill containers, this can stay here while the container can be like all the way following the parent's container. So that's what it means by having it fill containers. It can also bring the whole thing, the whole text. So if you can choose like hug in here, fill containers. So I usually do it like fill container first. I'm not really touching the bottom one unless I found a problem, like they won't stretch or something like that. But it's working. And in case like if you want to like add more text and then it's going to be all the way to the bottom, you want to make sure that this is not hug, but also like fill containers too. It can be hug, but it's not going to following the flow. So you want to make sure if you want it to be like flowing, you're using your size that you want, following the grid, you want to make sure that it's fill container. So that's one. It surely come with practice. I suggest to start with a small button first. Once you know how to make buttons pretty quick, very fast, you can add another elements under that and try to mix them together in Autolayout and see that if they working or not, and start fixing it one by one by choosing, oh, maybe it is not moving. So let's see if they're gonna do it. Now it's doing it. So yeah, I suggest we can start with the buttons and then that. But that's for the context. And then we can do the picture. The picture is pretty easy. You can just use this, move it up here, and then we just snap it to the grids for now. Doesn't really matter for the pictures, it just so we can have a visual and then make them aligned. There you go. And then this is the other type of like auto layout that's pretty complex that it can use this. So this combine this auto layout inside and then another auto layout on the outside with the logo, with the navbars. So I leave it here for everyone so you can have it and practice and see how it goes. I don't think I have enough time to go with this one. But yeah, it's a bit long for this one. So let's just copy this in here. Let's see a moment. And then you can snap it to the grid. This. And then if you see this auto layout is really working the way it is. It's really great. So I put 69 and then 96 on the side because I want to don't have any things on the side over here. So you can also pick the margins or even the sizing between the content. Like I want them to be like 68. So if you see this is 68. And then I want this to also have like padding. So everything you can do that with auto layouts. So once you can be able to combine everything, you can be able to make something like this. So why is it beneficial for become responsive? So let's just try to make an iPad. In iPad, you choose column, the same thing. For iPad, I used to have 8 columns and then same stretch. We can put 32 or 40 for margins. And then we can just let the color between 24 to 16. And then we can just drag our stuff in here, drag it. And then, yeah, usually tablets, we don't have like this menu over here. So in case you want it to be like, you don't want 60 and 96 too big on the side. You're wasting so many. You can just like put it here because our margin is 40. Look how nicely they snap. So now it's 40 on the side. You can see. So, and then you can just use the rest of the element that you already have auto layout. Copy in here, clicking Alt, press, and then you can just do this. And then for the picture, you can just like grab it, resize it, make sure it's snapped to the grid, resize it, and there you go. You can make a very simple iPad. So that's with the phones. For the phone itself, it's the same thing. You use layout column. For phones, use 4. Usually it's 4 or 2 columns for the phones. And then the margin, I usually use 16. For gutter, I also use 16. So same thing, copy this. And then for a phone, this might be like too big. If you don't like, oh, this is like heading 2 is too big, you can just feel free to pull it down and then change the whole thing. You think that, oh, this is like 32. I don't like it in my auto layout 32. You can make 24, just smaller. And you want to make the button stretch all the way. And then the same with this. The good thing about auto layout is you can replace one of their content. So let's see, we have an icon. We copy the icon. We put it up here. So with auto layout, you can replace the content. You can put them in the middle. Here, it snaps, and you delete this. There you go. So that's also really helpful to have an auto layout. So changing things like this. The logo, you can just, maybe you want to be like 85, and then you can bring the navbars coming in. Here, doesn't snap, what's wrong? Okay. Okay. It's silly. Let's just copy this. You can put over here, and then you can bring them with you. Tara. And then the sizing is supposed to be 16 on the margins. This auto layout has 40. Let's make them 16. There you go. This is how you make a responsive landing page using Figma and some of the little auto layouts on the side. Okay, you can just picture it here, and that's it. There you go. So that's the tutorials, and then we are right on the time for any questions. So for the grid values, let's see. For the reference for the grid values, you can just get it up. I usually get it by the first time I get it from. There is one YouTuber that I really like. His name is Misko. I get it from that, and then there's a lot of articles from Smash Magazine. That's the first thing, Smash Magazines talking about grid. You can click this grid measurements, and if you want to like do Android apples, go to their website. For Android, I suggest to go with material.io, and for iOS, you can go to the iOS designs. So they have like a little bit difference, but for something like similar, that they usually do the desktop for 12, and then for mobiles, it's a bit similar. They use like 4 columns. A bit of different with margins, which is how they're gonna like sizing the margins, but overall they kind of like similar in a way. For beginner, it also helps if you go to like Figma community. I can just maybe share a little bit. Figma communities over here. You can just search like either grid or anything that you can have it, like grid or block or grid systems. You can get pretty much not everything, but almost everything in Figma community. You can get files. This is like the shareable files that people upload, and you can duplicate and you can use it. That's what I recommend on the first times. And that's really helps.
Do you
Yeah.
see the numbers in light gray?
Oh, okay. Yes. Like this number on the side.
Right.
Oh, this is usually if you just say that, oh, I don't like heading 1 is like 48 pixel. This is like telling you like this is, that means this is 40x pixel and 54 line height, which is this one over here. So this is gonna be 32/40. If you like, just say we're adding it again. Let's just call it H3. And you can see it's like the pixel size, and then this is the line height size. That's usually what it is. And then you can always customize it anytime you want it. You don't like it's called like heading 3, you can call it anything else, and then you can still change it. So in case that you forget something, oh, it's supposed to be like regular, not bold, you can still doing it over here. And everything with that style in all of this file here gonna change. So you don't have to change one of them at a time. You can change just this thing and then everything change.
Thank you,
Thank
Mei.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, May.